Have you ever met a woman who seemed soft-spoken, gentle, maybe even fragile, but after every interaction, you walk away questioning yourself? You replay the conversation in your head, wondering if you said something wrong, apologizing for things you didn't even do, while she sits quietly, looking innocent. That confusion you feel isn't random. It's carefully engineered. That's the silent weapon of the female covert narcissist. She doesn't need to shout, she doesn't need to be obvious, her power is in making you doubt your reality. And here's the dangerous part, most men don't even realize what's happening until it's too late. She's already in their head, controlling the game without ever raising her voice. Today, we're breaking down the hidden tactics and mind games she plays, and, more importantly, how you can recognize them before they pull you in and drain you emotionally. If you're serious about understanding female psychology and protecting yourself from subtle manipulation, make sure you hit subscribe right now. This is where I decode the hidden dynamics most people never talk about. Let's start with the first weapon in her arsenal, the one so subtle, most men mistake it for compassion, when in reality, it's her most manipulative tool. Covert narcissism is one of the most misunderstood personality types. When we think of narcissists, we imagine the loud, arrogant, attention-seeking individual who constantly demands to be admired. But the covert narcissist? She operates differently. Instead of arrogance, she hides behind humility. Instead of demands, she uses subtle manipulation. And instead of looking powerful, she often appears fragile. Now, when this plays out in women, it becomes even harder to detect. Why? Because society often conditions us to see women as nurturing, emotional, and self-sacrificing. So when a woman acts overly vulnerable, overly humble, or constantly puts herself in the role of the victim, most people don't see a warning sign. They see compassion. They see innocence. But beneath that soft surface lies a set of psychological games that can be far more damaging than open aggression. The female covert narcissist doesn't just attack your confidence directly, she erodes it, piece by piece, until you no longer trust your own judgment. In this video, we're going to expose the exact tactics she uses, how men usually react to them, and the deeper psychology that explains why she does it. By the end, you'll have the clarity to recognize these patterns instantly, and the awareness to protect yourself before it's too late. 1. Guilt-tripping through vulnerability. You meet a woman who constantly shares her struggles. Maybe it's how nobody really understands her, how her past relationships always ended badly, or how she's been let down by everyone in her life. At first, you feel special, like you're the one person who finally gets her. But slowly, you notice a pattern, you feel like you always have to save her. And if you even think about stepping back, she flips the script, you're suddenly the villain for abandoning her. Instead of being appreciated, you're made to feel guilty. This is one of the covert narcissist's sharpest tools, weaponized vulnerability. See, narcissists crave control and attention, but the covert kind knows that demanding it directly would expose them. So instead, they create dependency by painting themselves as fragile and helpless. The psychology here is simple. If she convinces you she's broken, she doesn't have to ask you to stay, you'll stay out of guilt. And that guilt becomes her leash. Let's say a man tells her he's going out with friends. Her response? It's fine. I'll just sit here alone like I always do. Don't worry about me. That single sentence sounds harmless, but it's layered with guilt. Now, he feels like a selfish partner for wanting a social life. He cancels his plans, thinking he's being kind. But in reality, he just rewarded manipulation. And the cycle repeats. And here's the kicker, when guilt stops working, she has another weapon ready. She won't yell, she won't argue. Instead, she punishes you in silence, making you feel the consequences without ever saying a word. Let's break down how that works. 2. Silent sabotage and passive aggression. Now let's say the guilt tripping doesn't fully work, or maybe you push back just a little. You immediately sense something's wrong, but here's the strange part, she won't tell you directly. Instead, the atmosphere shifts. She pulls away, becomes distant, maybe throws in sarcastic comments or shuts down completely. You try to figure out what's wrong, but she won't give you a clear answer. Instead, you get the silent treatment, and somehow, you end up apologizing just to bring peace back. This is a textbook form of emotional punishment without confrontation. Unlike an overt narcissist who might yell or demand, the female covert narcissist avoids direct accountability. Instead, she lets her silence, her distance, and her coldness do the talking. Psychologically, this triggers anxiety and self-blame in the man. He starts to wonder, what did I do wrong? And the moment he takes responsibility for something she never even voiced, she regains control. Passive aggression works because it forces you to chase her approval, without her ever needing to ask. You forget to pick up something small from the store, like her favorite snack. Instead of saying, "Hey, you forgot, and it upset me," she spends the whole evening sighing, rolling her eyes, or acting distant. When you finally ask, she replies with, "Don't worry, it doesn't matter." But you know it does. That phrase is designed to sting. Now, you're scrambling to make it up to her, while she sits back and enjoys the proof that she can control your mood without ever raising her voice. And if you think that's manipulative, it gets deeper. Because when silent sabotage doesn't deliver the sympathy she craves, she escalates to her favorite disguise, playing the victim. And this, right here, is where most men completely lose the battle. 3. Playing the victim to gain sympathy. Now here's where things get twisted. You could be in a situation where you're the one hurt, you caught her lying, she broke your trust, or she crossed a boundary. But somehow, by the end of the argument, you're the one apologizing. Every conflict flips upside down. No matter what she did, you walk away feeling like the aggressor. And instead of addressing her actions, you're comforting her tears. This is one of the covert narcissist's most powerful manipulations, reframing herself as the victim. Unlike the overt narcissist who demands admiration, the covert version thrives on pity. In psychology, this is called vulnerable narcissism. By painting herself as weak, mistreated, or unworthy, she redirects the emotional spotlight onto her. Why? Because sympathy is control. The more you feel sorry for her, the more you excuse her behavior. And over time, this dynamic makes you second-guess your own feelings. You start to believe that calling her out is the same as attacking her. You confront her about a lie. Maybe she hid messages from another guy, or maybe she betrayed your trust in some way. Instead of owning it, she breaks down crying and says, "I'm just not good enough for you. I ruin everything, don't I?" Suddenly, the focus shifts. Instead of addressing the betrayal, you're holding her, consoling her, and promising not to be so hard on her. In one move, she escaped accountability and made you feel guilty for her mistake. And here's where the trap tightens. Once she has you feeling guilty and protective, she doesn't stop there. She starts quietly chipping away at your self-esteem, not through open insults, but through subtle remarks and backhanded comments. Let's break that down next. 4. Undermining confidence with subtle remarks. At this stage, you notice something strange. She rarely insults you outright, there are no screaming matches or obvious put-downs. But little by little, you start doubting yourself. It's almost invisible at first. A casual joke, a small comparison, or a remark that feels harmless. But when it happens enough, you begin to feel less confident, less certain about your own worth. This is what psychologists call covert devaluation. Unlike direct criticism, which can be challenged, covert devaluation slips under the radar. It comes as sarcasm, as humor, or as an offhand comment. The female covert narcissist uses this tactic to weaken your self-esteem without looking cruel. By keeping her remarks subtle, she makes it nearly impossible for you to call her out, because if you do, she'll dismiss it with lines like, "Relax, I was just joking," or, "You're too sensitive." Over time, these comments program you to question yourself rather than her. Let's say you share good news. You got a promotion at work. Instead of celebrating with you, she smiles and says, "Wow, I didn't think they'd choose you over all the experienced guys." On the surface, it sounds casual, even like she's impressed. But deep down, that remark plants doubt. You go from feeling proud of yourself to wondering if you actually deserved it. Multiply that by dozens of small moments, and eventually, you're looking at her for validation instead of trusting your own achievements. And once your confidence is weakened, she uses one final trick to make sure you stay hooked. It's the emotional roller coaster of hot and cold affection, keeping you addicted to her approval. Let's dive into that next. 5. Control through emotional hot and cold. One day she's affectionate, the next day distant. You never know which version of her you'll get. This is a classic psychological tactic rooted in intermittent reinforcement. The unpredictability keeps you hooked, because your brain starts chasing the highs. The warmth feels extra rewarding after the cold shoulder. Over time, this creates emotional dependency. You stop focusing on your needs and instead live for her approval. Imagine this: you set a boundary and say you can't cancel your plans with friends. Suddenly, she's distant, barely texting, cold in person. But the next day, when she wants a favor, she's affectionate again, hugging, sweet-talking, laughing with you. That cycle conditions you to think, if I just give in, maybe I'll get that warmth back. Without realizing it, you're being trained like Pavlov's dog, obedience for affection. So what does this all mean in real life? The danger of a female covert narcissist isn't in what you see, it's in what you feel. You don't catch her screaming, breaking things, or openly disrespecting you. Instead, you notice the invisible cuts. You feel drained, confused, and constantly guilty, as if you're always the one doing something wrong. That's what makes this type of manipulation so destructive. It operates in the shadows. Here's the truth: once you can name the pattern, you take away its power. Guilt tripping is no longer love, it's control. Silent punishment is no longer space, it's manipulation. Victim playing is no longer vulnerability, it's strategy. Subtle devaluation is no longer teasing, it's erosion of confidence. Emotional hot and cold is no longer passion, it's conditioning. If you're a man, this awareness protects your emotional strength. You stop being trained to chase scraps of affection and instead reclaim your boundaries. If you're a woman, recognizing these traits in yourself or others can break toxic cycles before they poison your relationships. Awareness isn't just knowledge, it's freedom. So the next time you meet someone who seems overly fragile, constantly plays the victim, or leaves you second-guessing yourself, don't brush it off. Those aren't just quirks. Those are red flags. It might not be kindness. It might be control. Question for you. Do you think covert narcissism is harder to deal with than overt narcissism? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I'd love to hear your perspective. If this video gave you clarity, hit that like button, it tells YouTube this is worth sharing. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because in the next video, we'll go even deeper into hidden psychology patterns that can protect your relationships and your mental strength. And of course, subscribe and turn on notifications, because in the next video we'll cover why some men fall for narcissistic women repeatedly, and how to break free from the cycle.